one for the day. And then we're going to hang these when we have our decoration day.
Even if you think you're not ready, everyone has to move on.
Ooh, even if you think you're not ready, everyone has to move on. Okay, I like these. So far, they've all been really positive, which is great. Okay, the other thing that we're going to do today, once we get towards the end of the classes, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to use ChatGPT as a tool in learning about this story. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that at the end. So we got a lot going on, so just bear with me if you can. All right, so let's start with this story recitative. A couple things that I want you guys, just as a premise to the story that came up, points of knowledge that maybe people don't know. Number one, Jimi Hendrix was a famous guitarist, a Black guitarist, in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. So if you read Hendrix in the story and didn't know what it was, that's what it is, okay? So that might help you understand a little bit better. I forgot to give that knowledge. I just assumed people knew who it was. My bad. Secondly, okay, what I want you to understand about this is everybody in this class, for some reason, the senior class loves conspiracy theories, like a big thing, right? We talk about them. What are they? What are they? What I want you to think about from a conspiracy standpoint and what people are doing is the writers and the authors and the musicians are telling us a story. A lot of times, if you think about where knowledge comes from, it can come from in acts of resistance or acts of revolutionary things. It comes from the people doing the writing, right? And if we look at historically, you can look at things like the fall of the USSR and more even acutely, the fall of the Berlin Wall in the late 80s. And a lot of it had to do, this is fascinating, I was listening to this one day, is it had to do with tapes, music. So they would make revolutionary songs and then they would, back then you had like a tape if you've ever seen one, and they would kind of like black market, hand out these tapes that had songs. And what happened was in governments like that, once you get like a trendy song in your head, you're singing it and you don't even start to realize that you are singing this song that's telling a message, right? And so I think when we look at a story like what Toni Morrison's doing here, is that she has encoded tons of messages. She's done this incredible smart stuff in this short story. And she is letting us interpret it. She's letting us figure it out. And a little later on, I'll tell you what somebody came up with in one of my classes that I hadn't thought of, even though I've read all the Toni Morrison stuff. And it is brilliant. And I was like, look, you could probably write your PhD on that. Like people would be so excited. The second thing I want you to think about is a narrative and controlling the narrative. Has anyone ever heard that phrase, controlling the narrative? Does anyone know what that means? Yes, Sebastian.
Oh, no, I just heard.
You've heard the phrase, but does anybody know what that means? Controlling a narrative, right? What does control mean? Yeah.
Mean like withholding information to change how people would see the story.
Right. So it doesn't necessarily mean withholding. It means changing the story or building the story, creating a story, right? You're controlling the story. And you're right. Sometimes people withhold information. Sometimes they only give information. But I want you to understand this idea because this comes up for the rest of the time. And it's a really fundamental thing about the world is that we're controlling the story. Did you guys speak sign language? Yeah. Did you want to share it with us? ASL?
No, I only do sign language.
Okay.
I don't speak English.
Okay. And you just wait, and then you can do it in a minute. All right, but what I want you to, who for your generation do you think is controlling the narrative right now? Who do you think it is? Where do you get information?
Media, like
Social media, right? Are you guys really reading the news all the time? No, nobody's reading this. Okay, so think about the people that are creating that. When we talked about linear, right? We talked about the algorithms and the information. The narrative for you guys gets controlled on TikTok or gets controlled on wherever, Snapchat, whoever is powerful over you is who's controlling a narrative. In broader senses, it could be media or governments or whatever. In local, hyper-local, I want to give you a hyper-local, like micro idea of this. Have you guys ever been in a fight with a friend? Like where you have a friend group, say 4 or 5 people and one person you're mad at. Does that ever happen? Or somebody does something, betrays you or whatever, right? Okay. So then it becomes who controls that narrative, right? Is it one person tells the story? Oh, you'll never believe what such and such did or who she cheated on with or whatever. The narrative starts to get written, right? And we have to think about who's controlling the narrative. Do they benefit from making someone look bad? Are they just there to tell the truth? Is there a point to telling that story, right? I always think when someone tells me something bad about someone, I have to really stop myself and go, what are they getting out of this, right? Do they really just want me to have the truth, or is there something behind this? Okay, so it happens at a micro level, like just your friend groups. Who's controlling the narrative? And then how does that narrative get built bigger and bigger, right? So then you tell another friend group, well, we don't talk to her because she blah, blah, blah. We don't talk to him anymore because he did this, right? And it gets bigger and bigger. And who is in control of that story, right? And it becomes really important. So that's kind of what Toni Morrison's doing is a little bit, is controlling a narrative here. And what I want to see is, what did you guys take from the narrative and what is she doing? And what I want to do, and it comes up, if you chat GPT this story or you Google the story, what do you think it says that the story is about? Did anyone do that?
Probably about, it would say it's about race.
Right, it's going to say it's about race. Okay, it's going to say this is a story about figuring out who is Black and who is white. But I'm going to tell you right now, Toni Morrison is way smarter than that. So we're going to take race out of it, right? And we're going to see, what is it actually about? So what I want you guys as a group to do right now is I want you to make as many on the post-it list, post-it notes, as many themes or things that you can think that are going on in this story that have nothing to do with race.
To take advantage of helpless people.
Oh, there you go. Winner.
People like to have power over things, people like to have power over others in any way they can. We channel our emotions into our other activities when we repress our.
Yeah, that's good.
Friendship, education, and family relations.
Okay, what would you guys say is the overall, like, what comes up a ton on there, I guess? What do you think?
Friendship came up with them.
Friendship and what? Growth, upbringing. Yeah, I think we have some big themes on there. And then we've got some winners. I like to call them chicken dinners up here for sure. The importance of perspective. Who did that? That was really cool. Oh, look at you. Nate bringing it. I love this. Why do you think that, Nate? What were you thinking about that?
Especially once you, towards the end, we saw about how like, that we did like contact thing. There's about the kids moving schools. I think it was Lila was like, why should we care? Like, my kid's moving, so like, she was wondering why the other girl should care so much. And then the other girl told her like, she needs to think of it from, it's not just them, it's their kids. And she was forcing her to think about it differently. And
Forcing her to think, oh, I didn't think, that's good. That's good, Nate. That was good.
after that, like, she started to think more of like, less about herself. So I feel like in the beginning, she was forced to just, it was just her. She was about her mom. And then towards the end, she started to think back on it. She was like, oh, I didn't like remember that part and think about that part. She was only focused on herself. So
Who was? Which one?
Twilight.
The narrator?
Yeah. When she started thinking outside of what like just herself, she started to realize a lot more, and, like, just different
Wow.
stuff.
Nate just gave us a master class. Ooh, that was good. That was good. I didn't even think about the perspective of change. That was good. All right, I'm with you. Gaslighting. Who did this? Who wants to explain that one? Or what do we think we mean? Anyone can do it. Who's getting gaslit? Is it you? You want to do it? Yeah, who is it?
That's it. Twyla was getting,
Yeah.
Roberta was gaslighting Twyla, I guess.
Yes, yes. And that's a big part of it, right? She's gaslighting her the whole time. Why?
Because they have different like viewpoints on how situations happen. And so they're kind of telling Twyla the truth, I guess, that she kind of ignored.
Yeah. She's controlling a narrative there too, right? Like she's gaslighting her and then it changes everything, right? The way she does it is pretty rough, I would say. That was good. That was good. Seeking attention, everyone has regrets and changes. It's easy to take advantage of helpless. What? How to
ChatGPT said it's like class differences, like something.
But they said the same thing for Maggie, but it was,
Yeah.
like, they said the right thing.
They said the right. Oh, they said that it's about.
Yeah, like silence people.
Yeah. Oh, the signs. Yeah, the signs is really good. The mother.
Showing off. Their rights, finding the You wouldn't die.
Well, what I love about it is because it's like you can just see people really, are you guys personal? It's like
Yeah.
your mother's unwell, like here these people are like
mother's
society, and she's like, she's pulling your mom into it. It's like, it's pretty fun. Right, which well, I didn't think about it from the context of your vomit. What if that's the context came through, where it's like, who would make it, like, and then like.
I thought that was weird. Why don't we room or something?
Right, he puts it in his room, what one was, I forget what that is. He keeps that sign in his room.
Wait, can you look that up? Why do you pick anything up on this island?
Yeah, how is ChatGPT? There's no way you can pull this up.
I like.
Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna stop recording because now people are just throwing it. And
And like the house thing, like, or with schools, I mean, when they were like trying to kick all the kids out of school, like they would take my dad, because they they're just gonna like say how it is,
yeah. Oh, yeah, they took agency from it. Oh, that was good too. So good, great. I think, I want to talk a little bit about that. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and now we've done kind of these ideas. And so we've removed what everybody thinks the story is about, right? And we see how much further Toni Morrison has gone, how she's talking about gaslighting and attention. And this concept of Maggie becomes, I think, pretty important. And for this reason, right? Why do we take advantage of helpless people? And it's very layered there because it's not just about her being disabled or her being able to talk. There's something else going on there too, I think. So I want you to kind of think about that. But look at all of the things from your perspectives that Toni Morrison does, right? Outside of what everyone else is saying that she's doing amazingly well is talking about race, but she's doing so much more. Look at that. And someone asked me in the last class, why pick this story? Well, number one, because I really love Toni Morrison and I didn't know existed until 2 years ago. But secondly, because she's doing something so smart here, which is she's building us a story and also talking about a lot of other things. So what I want you to do now is I want you for truly like 5-10 minutes, I want you to discuss your questions. And if you need a little guidance, one question I want you to think about, and this has been the big question of the day, what is the purpose of Maggie? Okay, what is the purpose that Toni Morrison is doing with Maggie in the story? And then also at the very end, I Xeroxed it wrong. So where it says, or I didn't, it just added in the year, the 1983 isn't part of the story. It's just the date it was written. So if you were confused, it's that last little line. Okay, so I want to talk about your questions. You wrote down a bunch yesterday. So I want you to discuss the biggest epiphanies, biggest questions you have about the story. And also maybe what is Maggie doing for us? Who can talk the most? You seem to be on it today. No, put it in. No one will look.
So why did we reply about Maggie's race and like what they did to her? Like she thought, Tyler thought she might at least. I feel like that's like a big part of we don't know what the truth is necessarily, but people like counteracting. And then in the end, they're like, oh, I made that up. So we don't really know.
And the story wasn't
We did a lot of like Roberta's input on that.
I think she might have lied about it. Like maybe if Roberta is lacking her perspective, like she sees a lot of black people getting taken advantage of, so she would like automatically kind of assume that Maggie was black, and that they were
Yeah, I read
hurting her.
Roberta was also black. So why?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Why did you kind of stand in support?
She was a little girl and like I think when she like
Maybe because that kind of resonates with her, like that. She feels worse because she is black.
if your older sibling goes and you think they're that stronger, so you're gonna like the older
Oh,
girl.
yeah.
One of my questions was, why did she lie initially and then like reverse it? Like she just said that she lied. Like why would she feel the need to admit?
Maybe that's the year, like, what she put it up there.
Well, it's like.
But she says she thought about it. Why?
Point of the match, of that character. Let's see what these guys are doing. This crew, what do you got?
Oh, God.
Yeah, did you read the story?
Yeah,
All right, so what are your questions?
well, I didn't really write down. I was just more curious about like the comparison that Violet was making Maggie.
Yeah.
Like comparing Maggie to her mother, and I just thought they were like Maggie was just used as like she just represented like everything that were like didn't think or something.
Yes, yes, all of them, yeah.
She was just like the party for like, all that stuff because or I don't know, they both didn't like their mothers and they both saw some like
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
they didn't actually kick her, but
they want to.
they wanted to.
Right. What, do you have any thoughts on why Maggie shows up like that? Okay, so what I want to think about Maggie too, that here's the other thing, if you think about like, have you ever heard that thing, hurt people, right? So in those situations, where did those girls fall? Like when we talked about in the orphanage at the beginning, like, when they said like, what like social status do you think they have in that orphanage? How would it line up? Like if there's the top of the social ladder and the
Like
bottom.
like Maggie and Roberta.
Roberta and Twilight, yeah.
Or
Yeah, those two. Yeah, that's right. Where were they? Like if there was
like
a
the
social stop.
Like
The bottom. Hey,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
yeah, your grade is definitely not gonna be awesome
Hey,
today.
Jack, it's Scott here.
What? All I just did that.
This is like a very good
I've been
masterclass
talking the
on
whole
teaching.
time to everybody.
Yeah,
But he didn't read the story, but he's still been talking.
he has.
All right.
It's okay. So what I'm trying to get the Maggie's the thing, the social class, right? They're the lowest. They're the absolute lowest. So who's underneath them? Maggie, right? So you always, who do bullies pick on, right? They're not gonna pick at the tall guy. They're gonna pick the person that falls underneath them. So if you think about Maggie, they're picking, that's who she represents, the most vulnerable. Like who could we actually pick on? What, these kids are the lowest of the low, right? The parents don't like them. These parents actually can't even take care of them. Even the older girls, like they don't have anyone left to pick on. So who's it gonna be?
Mhm.
This lady. And then she can't even speak up for herself, right? She can't even complain or cry or. No, they never say, they never give her like backstory or what's going on with her, right?
Get the last line. What happened? Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? Why end with Maggie? That's a big, yeah, you got, what do you think, Brandon? Why end with Maggie?
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't finish the. I didn't get to like the end. I didn't
Okay,
finish
that's
the end.
fine. But why do you think?
Why Roberta's asking Twyla because Roberta was there in his class there, like Twyla would know.
Mhm. Right, but why end there? I think that's a,
Well,
I mean, I don't know if we know,
they
but
kind of brought her up like a couple of times after they left the orphanage.
yeah,
Um,
she comes up a lot.
She comes up a lot in just like side conversations and then like Roberta just lying and saying they hit her.
It kind of reminds me of like, think about like a group fight where you're like, oh, and then someone's fighting and you're like, they're banging them. And then and you're like, you're kind of in the drama of it. And you're like, oh my gosh, right? And then you like walk away and you're gone. And then later you just see the one kid's getting pummeled, right? And then all of a sudden, like maybe an hour or two, you're like, oh my God, I wonder what happened. Like, did he make it? Is he okay? You know, so I kind of feel like they're going back to like, wait, oh my God, we're so worried about
They're
ourselves.
kind of
And
going back. They like almost forgot about.
yeah, oh my God, what happened to her? Right? Like they're so concerned, like they're always so concerned with their friendship. And then it's kind of like, oh my God, wait, what happened to Maggie?
Yeah.
Right? Did someone like,
It was like
I don't know, that's
it was like a
what-
moment of realization. It just like
Yeah.
like a light bulb. They're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
literally, oh shit. That's what they say.
right? Yeah, literally like, oh shit, what happened to her?
Yeah.
What do we do? Right? Yeah. I think that kind of plays out there a little bit. All right. All right, so here's what I want you guys to do, whoever's your fastest typer. I want you to take one of the questions. All right. Really quick, before you got to know what your directions are, folks, friends. All right. What I want you to do, and it's quick, right, in ChatGPT, is I want you to take, you probably get through 4. As a group, I want you to put in 4 questions about this book, right? And then I want you to compare them to what you guys think, and does ChatGPT pick up on it? And here's what we're looking for. is there something new that you learned by putting it in ChatGPT? Is it accurate? Does it help you kind of understand that question? Number two, did you pick up on something that ChatGPT just can't understand? It doesn't get the nuance. It doesn't understand the story. So is there something that ChatGPT isn't understanding that's super important in the story? Which was kind of, William, what did you have at the beginning that I said was smart? Oh, what was your post-it note? Gaslighting. Yeah, does ChatGPT ever, so without saying that, see if they pick up on that, right? Because that's a really big nuance. And then how reliable, literally type in there, maybe type in who's black or white, Roberta Tyler. What does Roberta represent in this story? And see what they come up with. And then I want you to think about, like, how could you use ChatGPT to actually help you with your analysis, right? How can we use it as a tool? It doesn't give us all the information, but is there a way that it can further our critical analysis? Is it going to give us some insight? And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Because this story is not very old or written about enough, it doesn't have a lot of information. If you put in Moby Dick or something else, you're going to get like forever. But this one, it's kind of interesting because you have to figure out, do you think there's enough data for it to be a reasonable answer to the question? So I want you guys to try that and discuss what comes from the ChatGPT part of it.